Welcome to the Muckin Around podcast with me, Tom Hawkins, the director of Springbridge Direct. Today we've got a guest on the show, Andrew Smith. This is our last episode of our season for the first season of our podcast. So today we're going to talk about all the different things to do with trucks and some of the stuff to do with how we deliver our goods to the customers and everything like that. So Andrew, welcome along.
Good morning, Tom. Nice to be here. Thank you.
No problem. Can you give us a bit of a background from yourself, what your company that you work for and everything like that, so that we can get a bit of an understanding of what we're talking about?
Yes, certainly, Tom. I've been employed by the same organisation since the 10th of September 1984. I started on the workshop floor at what was then Stormont Engineering Company Limited. And I had a bit of a wide awakening on my first day because I went to work and intended to be a car mechanic. But when I turned up on the first day, I saw a workshop full of trucks. So it wasn't quite what I was expecting. Okay. But however, I think in hindsight, it was the best thing that could have happened for me. You know, I don't think I would have been suited to talking to certain customers about a rattling parcel shelf and things like that. I much prefer talking to operators,
yes,
customers, and the wide variety of different vehicles that they could potentially purchase, and of course what they carry, their business, and what goes in the back of them, you know. So the variety is superb, and that is one of the things that really I enjoy about my job. But yes, so I've been there now just over 40 years.
Is it really 40 years?
I'm in my 41st year, yeah. 1984 I started on the workshop floor.
You must have started very young.
I was 16.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
And the thing was, I was labouring between finishing school and my YTS scheme starting, and I was earning reasonably good money. And then to stop that, to go and take on the YTS scheme, which was about £25-26 a week back then, I wondered to myself quite what I was doing, but it's worked out in the long run. But yes, so started on the workshop floor, went on to service reception, went into business development, out and about seeing customers, sorting out operators' license, repair and maintenance packages, all of the legalities behind it, and planning our workshop loading, that kind of stuff. Then I went into sales, became sales manager, then became group after sales director, and then in 1996 I think it was, we had a management buyout and I was involved in that, and I then became general manager of our 3 southern locations, which is Hildenborough near Tunbridge in Kent, one in Dunstable and one in Northampton. So yes, I run the 3 dealerships now, which is quite a progression.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. And what sort of customers do you sort of generally supply to? I guess it's a very wide range of different things.
We deal with retail customers that operate one van all the way up to very large fleets. We're actually now owned by GXO, which is a very large American organisation, and they run, or they do the warehousing, the e-commerce and everything for very large organisations, such as, say, Iceland, for argument's sake. So we're just in the process of supplying GXO for their Iceland contract. I think it's 174 tractor units.
Right, okay.
So, you know, big organisations, and we have to deal with the whole, not just the supply, but the ongoing maintenance of those vehicles. And part of this, not that I'm directly involved yet, but as it escalates, we will be. But our northern part of our business, which is Brighouse and Earlham, they're now going to be looking after VMUs, vehicle maintenance units, for Iceland, for GXO,
right,
where we actually employ the technicians and we do all the day-to-day running of those vehicles for Iceland, directly for GXO. So yes, it's changing.
Just on the topic of general lorry maintenance and things, I mean, I think we find one of the toughest thing for us is finding skilled labour to sort of service, because we do our own servicing with the lorries that we get from yourselves, and we struggle to find sort of qualified technicians and things like that. Is that something that you've noticed in your 40 years? Has that got, you know, is that a struggle for yourselves? Or
it's not so bad at this moment in time, and one good thing for us is that we've got longevity within our workforce, which can also have an adverse effect, because as an industry, I think the automotive industry, certainly from a commercial perspective, we've neglected apprentices in the past.
Yeah.
And I think that's been due to, in certain periods of time, a toughening climate, and you cut your cloth accordingly.
Yeah.
And apprentices are expensive, and of course they're a necessity, but we've, as an industry, as I say, neglected that. So therefore you've had a window of several years where we've not brought the youth through.
Yeah.
We've really changed that now, and it's something that we strive to do every year, is take on 1 or 2 apprentices within the workshop, and certainly the body shop as well. More difficult to find apprentices for our body shop and paint shop, and our parts department likewise. But fortunately we're not too bad. The thing that really is a defining factor is what you're paying your technicians now, because they've gone through the roof. Which, you know, I mean, you can't do without them, and they are worth their salt. You go back many, many years ago and you were a mechanic, stroke technician. Now you've got to be an electrician and somebody that could, you know, every fault, you're basically just plugging a computer in to diagnose, you know. So the industry's changed. So it is difficult, but we're doing our best to bring the youth through. Do
you do a lot of, obviously a lot of main dealers do a lot of night work and doing the servicing at night, because the lorries are generally on the road in the day. Is that still the case?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're there until 2 o'clock in the morning at every one of our dealerships. Some of them were 24 hours a day, our Hildenborough dealership and our Northampton dealership. So we had 3 different shifts. Some of our locations work the continental 4 on 4 off. But it's really a case of working out your efficiencies, and we're now only working from 7:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning round to 2 o'clock the following morning, and we're still managing to do the same amount of hours and get the same efficiencies really from our technicians just by moving the shifts around. Sometimes they can be idle working in the early hours of the morning if you haven't got the work there. You know, it's a difficult one.
Yeah. So when you say like you've got you've this deal that you were talking about just now with the 170 tractor units, how does that work? Is that a phased, because obviously that's a large number of lorries that I've never had to order before. So it's like, how would that work? What would the sort of process be for that, and deliver it to the delivery point? That'd be quite interesting.
I have to be absolutely honest with you, Tom. It's not something that I've been directly involved with. It's our Northern North part of our business. But my understanding is that it's an order for 174, and the existing incumbent, the contract will finish, and the new vehicles will go in, and it will go live on a particular day. So the whole fleet's got to be ready in one go, as I understand.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So it's quite a mammoth task. You know, you think about, you know, the 2 being of staff over, you've got to get the infrastructure internally from a dealer management, the computer systems, the part stock, and get everything up and running, you know, because it has to go live and it has to work. You know, you can't let somebody like Iceland down.
No, well, no, exactly. Yeah. And also that has a knock-on effect to, you know, if you don't get those lorries delivered, the food won't get on the shelves. Absolutely. And everything else. You're all playing.
Well, there'll probably be huge penalties, so it's not something even worth thinking about. We'll get it right, and that is something that Northern Commercials has in the past always succeeded in. You know, running VMUs is something that we've got a lot of experience at. You know, we've done it for Tesco's, we've done it before, or still do for GXO, where we're maintaining technically our own fleet of vehicles, but they're our technicians. We supply the parts and the manpower, so it's something that we're kind of half aware of and skilled at.
We buy obviously predominantly construction type vehicles. Is that a large part of Northern Commercials and Iveco's business, or is that a small sector for you guys?
Well, the 8-wheel market probably isn't the biggest sector for Iveco. For Northern Commercials it is. We've got a particular loyal band of customers. Yeah. And it's really about product awareness, I think, Tom, because the Iveco 8-wheeler is a particularly good product. Yeah. But people get stuck in their ways with other manufacturers, you know, and they think that that's the be-all and end-all. But in actual fact, the Iveco is up there, and if not better in a lot of respects, you know. So for Northern Commercials, we've got a lot of loyal customers who we look after exceptionally well. That's one of the things that we do. Springbridge is and has been a very good customer of ours for a number of years, and we enjoy working with Springbridge, G&B Finch, Penfold Verrill, people like this that operate a lot of the eight-wheelers. But Iveco, it's a superb product for the construction and also waste management, but something that we really need to push more of.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's a good product. I mean, a lot of people, I don't know why in the tipper market, people always say, like, you know, a Scania and a Volvo are the two ones sort of banded about, aren't they? And
Absolutely.
I mean, the Volvo is a good product, don't get me wrong. And so, you know, well, so is the Scania, but I don't see that Iveco is any less, really. I can't see it. You know, a lot of people go, oh, I'd never buy an Iveco. I was like, why? Like, what's wrong with it? Like, you know, like, it literally, we had WTF, the LR17 WTF, which was one of the first tippers I think we bought from yourselves, and only that's nearly 8 years old now, and I think we still haven't put a clutch in it. We still haven't, you know, it's done probably about 400,000 or 500,000 Ks. Yeah. We've had no problems with that lorry whatsoever. It's just going on and on and on, and I think we can say that about the majority of them, to be honest with you. And I just don't really understand where this sort of I don't know, like sort of snobbery around brands sort of comes from, really.
Maybe it is snobbery. And, you know, a lot of people just get stuck in their ways. But there are a number of operators now, you know, that have historically run other brands, Scania, Volvo, you mentioned. But really now we're seeing more Ivecos going into these operators, and it's opening the eyes of other operators. You know, they're seeing these vehicles being operated by what was historically predominant Volvo, Scania fleets, etc. And now all of a sudden these people who are quite high profile operators are running the Iveco.
Yeah.
And it's making people now question, well, if they're doing it, it can't be that bad. And it really is a case of getting bums on seats.
Yeah.
Because once the customer sees it, once the driver sees it, it opens their eyes, and it actually shows that the product is invariably a lot cheaper. And that doesn't mean to say it's inferior, nothing like it. It's equal to, if not, in some instances, better. The residual value might be a questionable one, but again, that's something that is dictated by the market, because there aren't necessarily the numbers there, and it's a perception. The vehicles are as good as anything else out there.
I've noticed actually that Ivecos, I think this is actually that we're getting to a turning point now. We're talking about the residual value of the Iveco. I think it hasn't got the same residual value as, say, a Scania or a Volvo. I think it's probably slightly cheaper to buy in the first place, so you've got to take that into consideration. But I was thinking the other day that because the second-hand market for lorries has definitely dropped off for tippers anyway, in general, I think the difference between a Scania and a Volvo or an Iveco now is actually the gap is not as big as it used to be. I mean, I remember sort of 5-7 years ago, even maybe 8 years ago, people used to be able to buy, they buy a Scania for, at the time, maybe 110,000. They'd run it for 2 years and then they'd sell it secondhand for like 100,000 or something. Yeah. I don't see people doing that anymore. I think those days are totally gone. I
think people are running vehicles for longer as well, as you quite rightly say, Tom. But it's all about whole life costs. Yeah, you look at the capital cost of the vehicle, and there is going to be a differential between an Iveco, a Volvo, a Mercedes, and a Scania, differing amounts. But there is going to be a difference, and that can be offset against the residual value. But you look at the product, you look at the repair and maintenance of it, you look at the fuel efficiency of the Iveco, and it's up there with all of them.
Yeah.
So really, to run the vehicle for a 4, 5, 6 year period, it becomes no less or worse. It's equal to all of those other brands.
Yeah.
And it's exceptionally reliable. With Northern Commercials, we're construction minded. We're from a backup perspective, an after sales perspective, our technicians, our supervision, our parts department, we're all geared up for it.
Yeah.
Hence why working with yourselves, Springbridge, there was times where you had an accident in one and we couldn't necessarily get some components. Well, we'll cannibalize a new vehicle in my yard, and we'll get the bits to you to get your vehicle back on the road, because for us, the customer's uptime is paramount.
Yeah.
It's no good having a vehicle in my yard or in your workshop. It's not turning a wheel. It's not earning you any money. So for us, uptime is paramount, so Northern Commercials prides itself on that.
Is there any, sort of shared parts that Iveco's have with other manufacturers in terms of the gearboxes and things like that? Generally, a lot of manufacturers all going down the same path for, because I think is it Renault and DAF, I think at one point they shared a lot of common parts and stuff like that, or is Iveco kind of on its own?
More major components, Tom, they will share, because probably just from a cost perspective of development and meeting the legislation and things like that, so ZF gearboxes you'll find in numerous different vehicles. And the technology behind it, the software, you'll find even in car, will be moved on to van, things like that in the Iveco Daily with the fully automated gearbox.
Yeah.
I think that comes from Land Rover and Audi. I think you'll find the same componentry software. So there are a lot of shared initiatives and components, but Iveco in large, other than the main components, they're pretty much standalone.
Yeah, and of course Iveco produced the chassis, the cab, the chassis and the cab, and then the body, the tipper. If it was a tipper or a grab lorry, you'd get the crane from. We use Powfinger cranes in the bodies. Is that are the bodybuilders keeping up with demand and things at the moment? Is there anything there that we should, somebody looking to buy a lorry should sort of look at, really?
It's a lot better now than it was. You go back a number of years with COVID. There was such a supply issue there with raw materials that it had a real knock-on effect, not just with the chassis, but with bodybuilders, crane manufacturers. And what it's also done is the cost of raw materials has gone up, and we haven't necessarily seen it come down. But lead times are getting a lot better than they were, previously during COVID and when we came out of COVID. Again, supply and demand, raw materials, shortages. It could easily be over 12 months to get an 8-wheel tipper or 8-wheel tipper grab.
Yeah.
Chassis now, we're probably looking at 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
And obviously working with your bodybuilder, your crane supplier, you give them that period of warning that you're going to want a body, you're going to want a build slot, you're going to want a crane. Then you can plan it all, that hopefully you'd probably build something in 6-7 months, something like that now, depending on what it is. So it's improved a lot.
Yeah. One of the lorries we bought that we spec'd off you was the 8-wheeler flatbed lorry, and that was sort of all kind of made to measure with the body and everything like that. Did you have to do a lot of work with the factory to design the chassis cab, or was that do they come with that wheelbase and with the rear steer and everything that was on that, or was that all sort of bespoke for us?
No,
how does that work?
That was a standard designed chassis. It's what Iveco do. Mm-hmm. They've got lots of different derivatives and different wheelbases, models, brake horsepower, engines, etc., day sleeper, roof heights. So yes, working with John Keating within Springbridge. We designed the vehicle around what you wanted it to do, and then I go away and I go through exactly what we can offer, and I come back with an offering. So yes, that particular vehicle, twin steer, rear steer, 8x2, it works superbly. Brilliant turning circle, rear mounted crane. Perfect for your application, and of course you've ordered another 2 now
we have,
it is something that's working particularly well, rather than I don't mean to tell you your business, Tom, but with your bagged products, I think it's ideal for that application.
Well, I think because with bulk bags, a lot of the work that we do is supplying to private houses and going down residential streets and things like that, and the margin on bulk bags can be quite low. So really, what's a good way of saving your margin is to get as many bags as you can on, which is why I think you want the 8-wheeler, because that's the best payload you're going to get for a rigid. You can't really start taking a trailer down some of these tight roads. It's not practical.
No.
But you do want to get your 20, I think we managed to get 21 bags on that lorry. So that means that the vehicle can, every time it's going out the gate, it's going out with 21 bags, which is obviously increasing it. The rear mounted crane as well, even though it is a bit longer, as you say, it's got the rear steer on it and the rear crane. So you can sort of just back up nicely to where you need to drop the bags and get them over, and you can get around tight circles. So I think for us, that's definitely the way forward. The grab lorries, we do a lot of deliveries for bag products on the grab lorries, and you can do it like that way. I mean, that's useful because the driver can go and do a delivery of bags, then they can go and do a load of muck away afterwards or something like that. But it's also tough and hard work on the driver because jumping in the body with the grab is not convenient. It's not safe. It's hard work. The grabs generally don't come with remote control, so they're pulling a lever. So if you were to unload, say, 12 or 16 bags on a grab lorry on your own, you've got to jump in the body 16 times. You've got to jump on the back, pull the levers, then jump down. By the time you've done all that single-handedly on your own, you're going to know about it. And also, the flatbed lorries back in the yard reloading for the next load. So the benefit of having your grab lorry then going around to go and get a load of muck away. Well, to be honest, you might well have just sent him there first in the first place and got the bag lorry doing the bags.
I get that entirely.
Yeah, and it as you say, it looks right. It's safer. It looks a lot more professional.
Lovely looking vehicles. A good advert for you.
I've not. There's not many people actually that in our area that operate. I was thinking about this the other day. Why the builders merchants go for the six-wheeler? Right, a lot of builders merchants go for a six-wheeler, don't they? Same sort of configuration.
Yes, I mean there was a particular builders merchants that I deal with down in Orpington. Walker's Builders Merchants, fabulous people, family-run business for many, many years, and we've had a close association with them. But they only run rigid six-wheel. And 18-ton four-wheel, all with rear-mounted cranes.
Yeah.
But to get round that, they've also got the last vehicle that I supplied them, a 26-ton rigid rear-mounted crane, but with a drawbar.
Oh, they've got the drawbar.
So that they can then go and get blocks, etc. So they've still got the carrying capacity that they used to have with the tractor and trailer they had. But, of course, they can now drop the trailer and then use it for the normal deliveries. And I suppose it's all about access into your residential people that want the deliveries, so trying to get an 8-wheeler down there, it's going to be far more difficult than a 6-wheel or a 4x2.
And a lot of the deliveries, I suppose, that the builders merchants would be doing, they wouldn't necessarily be worried about the weight as much as we would. If we're just doing solely bulk bags, they're the heaviest product that you can put on a lorry, really. They're the densest product. If you were delivering someone, say, 5 bulk bags and a bit of timber, well, you're not worried that much about the weight. I guess as well, the having a single, if it's a 6-wheeler, it's got a single front steer on it, so you would get a slightly better turning circle. Even
These
if it was
vehicles that I'm referring to, Tom, are all rear steer as well, so the turning circle's very good on them. Rear mounted crane, so that they can reverse in and then swing the crane round. It's covering a multitude of different things, and it works well for them.
Yeah.
So it's a good product.
Yeah, and what sort of there's a lot of talk, especially, in the last few years, about the environment and electrification and everything like that. Are you selling any sort of hybrid or fully electric vehicles and gas vehicles and stuff like that at the moment?
Yeah, we're doing a number, not huge numbers at the moment. I think people are just tentatively putting their toe in the water, but councils, the AA, for argument's sake, we've supplied to. There are, from an Iveco perspective, people like Tesco's Home Delivery that are running a lot of them. So it's definitely the way that things are going to go. Not necessarily 100%, but there's definitely going to be a percentage of these larger fleets that are going to be running electric vehicles. And yes, in large, they're running exceptionally well.
Some of them, because I've seen, was it Amazon, I think, had a load of gas ones, I think. I don't know how they worked. But
quite a lot of CNGs out there. A lot of the larger operators are doing that. And the good thing for CNG is that, of course, from a decarbonisation perspective, it's like 95% more efficient or less carbon than the equivalent diesel.
Right.
So the footprint is superb. If you look at maybe 20 tractors, you'd be running 19 of them basically for the equivalent of one diesel. So for the environment and for the decarbonisation, it's the way forward. And you've got the infrastructure is improving. That was always the negative behind EVs and CNG. It was where you could fill them up, but that's improving all the time. So it's definitely going to be the way forward. In time.
Did you see that thing in Germany where they had on the motorway a cable? It was, I don't know if you saw it. It was like, it was a bit like a high-speed train where it latched. It had a thing on the roof and it latched on.
I didn't see that.
Oh right, no, I thought that was quite quite not a bad idea, to be fair. Like, you know, like it was a lorry. It had a thing on the top that would attach to a cable, and so the cable, there would be like an electric cable running down the motorway, and in order to, you could sort of tap into it to get your power, which meant that you could recharge your batteries while you were on the motorway.
Right.
And that meant that you didn't have this problem with range. Basically, every time you went on the motorway,
you hook it up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think one of the problems I think that people are facing is the weight of the batteries. I think is a problem, isn't it? Like they can't get the payload on the truck that they used to because of the weight of the batteries. But I think that's getting better, isn't, as the technology is getting better.
There are different things that you can have with vans. The legislation has changed, whereas with the right license, like the car license for a 3.5 ton van, you can now have, I think I'm right in saying it's either 4.2 or 4.25 tons.
Yeah.
So that compensates for some of the increased curb weight of the batteries, so that it doesn't penalise you from your payload. So there are certain things, but yes, of course, it's the cost, it's the infrastructure, it's the range. Range anxiety is just something that you've got to get out of some people and operators' minds. And we operate demonstrators, EV dailies, so that we can hopefully put these into operators so that they can experience it firsthand for themselves, that how little cost to charge, how good the range is, and how easy they are to drive, and just to try and get that range anxiety and fear away. So we have got electric dailies that we lend to customers, and we're putting on 2 CNG tractor units as well, so that again we can try and get into these people, because it is going to be the way forward.
Do you think we'll ever see like driverless trucks and stuff like that? Have you seen anything sort of that's even remotely close to that? Or even, I know we've got a lot of driver aids and stuff coming through now, and a lot of trucks are being built in a way that maybe in the future they might be driverless. But have you seen anything that sort of shocked you? Like, oh wow, or not, or is it all fairly run of the mill stuff?
No, there has been autonomous trials, and you've seen it on the internet and wherever else, and I suppose one day it may well come, but I think it's probably going to be before or after I get out of the industry. One of those things. But also, I have had some dealings loosely with GXO and autonomous shunters in yards.
Right, okay.
So, but there's a lot of different issues surrounding that as to how you couple and uncouple the different trailers, the different fifth wheels, the different trailer heights, and of course all the SUSEs and things like that, So although I've seen things about it, I think it's a little while off to get something that's going to be 100% satisfactory for all different missions and applications. But I think it's probably inevitable, Tom, that there will be some.
Yeah, I think the easiest problem to solve would probably be like lorries driving up the motorway, I should imagine, and maybe you'd still need a driver with it, but the driver would just kind of be a passenger, an observer, going down the motorway. But to go from that to not having anyone in the cab, I think is going to be, even in my lifetime, I think is quite unlikely, even, despite what people might say. I think it's because, as you say, there's a lot of complex problems to solve to sort that. One of the things I thought that might actually happen, that might come quicker than you might think, is with the AI with the invention of AI and photographic sort of video and stuff like that, was probably like loading a grab lorry with could become, with the crane, and that could potentially be done automatically by a camera, because I thought that might actually be easier because essentially when you're loading a grab lorry with the crane, it's kind of a repetitive, it's quite a repetitive task. It's like, there's your pile, and all you've got is move that pile from there into the body. Yeah. So if you can solve that, you can, that something like that might come where you just sort of press a button and you mark the area. I was thinking like, you might be able to mark the area and say, this is going to be this is going to be the pile that we're loading, and Mark, you walk around it with a laser or something, I don't know, and then it just grabs it and drops it, and
Loads it.
Yeah, I thought that maybe would be something in the future that might come.
It's not something that I've given any thought to, Tom, but as you're talking about it and I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking, yeah, maybe, why not?
It's achievable, because I mean they've got when you look at like robots in factories and stuff like that, a lot of them are doing that now. They don't require people to pull the levers to do it. No. I mean, so the only difference with a Grabbler is that they're going to a different job every time. It's not a complete repetition. But I think with the invention of like cameras and AI and stuff, that some of that might be able to be solved, and I was thinking maybe like in 5 or 10 years we might be able to we might see something where that which would be quite nice for the driver, just to sort of
mark out the area that's got to be collected and then sit back and watch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but whether I think it's it could be quite a long.
Maybe you should forefront this, Tom.
I don't know if I've got the qualifications for that, to be honest. Yeah, but yeah, so no, it's really interesting. I mean, have you got any sort of standout projects that you've done over the years that you can think of? I think you mentioned GB Finch earlier. I think, didn't they have a really good...
well, I worked very closely with G&B Finch many years ago. I think it was 98 I first started dealing with G&B Finch. They're a large family-run business in Braintree in Essex. Nice people, and I used to deal with Gerald back in the day, who was I think the founder of the business. Unfortunately, he passed away a number of years. His son then, Steve Finch, took over. He's very much now taking a back seat. However, he's still involved, and Lee Finch, his son's now running it. So very much a family-run business. But yes, they wanted a flagship vehicle for their 50th anniversary. So Steve had this vision of a bonneted 6x4 heavy haulage.
I've seen a picture of that,
which was called the Strator, which was based on the Stralis X-Way, 570 brake horsepower, 6x4. So we spec'd it up, very good level of specification, and it went straight from the Madrid factory where it was built straight into CFG, Charles Fritsch Group in the Netherlands. And
they do all the custom. Is that company?
Yeah, well, they're the people that do the Strator, which I think came from the Australian powertrain. I think that's where it was modelled on.
Sounds like a Greek god or something, isn't it? I don't know.
But they're the people that do it. They're Charles Fritsch. So we went over there and we went through the build and what was expected. And a long time later and a lot of money later, yes, we've got this very expensive but very good 6x4 heavy haulage, which has got every conceivable option, and the paintwork on it is phenomenal. And it was to celebrate their 50th, so the airbrushed artwork on it is something else. It celebrates the history of G&B Finch. So yes, that was a particularly good product and a good project.
I think we're about 15 years off our 50th, so
I'll hang around, Tom. We'll do something for you as well.
Do they use it all the time, that lorry as
No,
well?
they did, but it's a bit too precious now, so they've got a particular part of their warehouse where they put it, and they put it away and use it on special occasions and shows, and they actually bought another 6x4, which is pretty much a conventional 6x4, what that started life as, but not bonneted, which they use day to day. So it comes out on special occasions because it's a particularly nice flagship for them. But it was good to be involved with. It was a learning curve for both G&B Finch and also myself. But very good
and very unique.
Absolutely.
You won't see another one, will you?
There was a lot of press involved with that because we also, with Iveco did with their electric daily van. They now have the current world record for towing, an electric e-daily towing 153.8 tonnes. Now, Steve Finch allowed
a daily,
a 3.5 or a 4.2 tonne Iveco electric daily pulled Steve Finch's Strator.
Blimey.
with a trailer, with an 8-wheeler, with, I think, an 8-wheeler on the back of it, and it towed an 8-wheeler, all loaded. Anyway, it grossed 153 tonnes, and the E-Daily pulled it. So, yeah, that was pulling the Strator.
Once, I should imagine.
Yeah, it did it for a certain... I mean, it was watched by the Guinness Book of World Records, you know, so they had to adhere to certain criteria. But, yes, very impressive and documented. So, yes, very good.
Yeah, no, excellent. No, it sounds like Iveco's is going. There's a lot of different stuff and a lot of different things going on. I think we're certainly going nowhere. I think we're very happy with all the products. All the lorries that we've had. Even I even had because you sold. Do you still do the Fiat product or not? No. Oh, because I remember I bought a pickup truck. Fiat
yeah, that's right. Yeah, No, we relinquished the Fiat franchise a number of years ago. Fiat, in their wisdom, terminated every Fiat professional dealer, and we chose not to have the franchise back. So we concentrate solely on Iveco, a company that we're more than happy to deal with. They know how we work. We work well with them. We're the second largest Iveco truck dealership within the UK. And it works well, Tom. So no, the Iveco are at the forefront of most things, and now of course with GSR, etc. They do all of that on their new Way range, and you've got all the telematics with Iveco on. So they're pioneering this kind of stuff, which is available free now when you buy a new X-Way or S-Way. So that they can now monitor your vehicle, and if it's potentially got a problem, the system will tell.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So then
Iveco
will get on to the operator and say, please be aware, let's just for argument's sake, number 6 injector isn't quite performing quite right. Your nearest dealer is them. They've got an injector, or you can pre-plan it, and it's all about maximum uptime and keeping customers on the road.
I think that's where manufacturers have changed. Probably what, in the last, since you started, probably, back in the day, like, you used to sell someone a vehicle. Now you're sort of selling them not just a vehicle, you're selling them the whole process.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't just stop at, well, there's the keys to your new truck. See you later. See you in a year's time for a service. Now it's like
cradle to grave. We sell it, and then we look after it all the way through, and hopefully you purchase again, and we just continue that cycle. For us, customer service is what it's all about.
And that goes right through to, down to our deliveries, because like if our lorries are breaking down, then we're letting customers down and everything else. So very much working together to ultimately achieve the same goal, which is to get, turf, topsoil, bark to the landscaper or the homeowner or whoever it might be.
Yeah. No, maximum uptime, Tom. I don't want you on at me that your vehicle's broken down. So we'll do everything we can to keep all your fleet on the road. Excellent.
Great. Well, thanks for coming on, Andrew. It's been really good, actually. I've sort of learned a lot about the business and given me a few ideas as well. So it's been really good. Hope you've enjoyed it. And
absolute pleasure.
Hope everyone thought that was of interest and learned a bit there as well.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Thanks. Cheers.